Okay, this is still part of 3A, again a very long section, and we are going to be using percentages to describe change. And we are going to describe change in two different ways. And those two ways are absolute and relative. So we need to know what those definitions mean. Okay, so let's work into that. All right, in 2015, Lake Travis was at a historically low level of 624 feet. I don't know if any of you remember that. It was bad. Luckily, the lake increased by 62 feet in the next year. What was the level of the lake in 2016? Okay, well, of course, that's going to be easy to find. We're just going to take 624 plus 62, and that's going to give us 686 feet. Okay. Alternately, we can use a percent to describe the relative increase in the lake level. Between 2015 and 2016, the level of Lake Travis increased by about 9.9%. Okay, so using 624 feet as a reference value, calculate the compared value after a 9.9% increase. Okay, so I know that, again, if I need to, I'm going to draw my circle. This is the 624 feet. This is our reference value. And then I have to add a small portion to that. So this is 100% of the reference value. This is 9.9% of the reference value. So I know that 109.9% of the reference value, 624, is what I'm looking for, the compared value. So if I turn this into a percent, or a decimal, excuse me, I have 1.099 times 624 is the new value. So what I end up with is that the new level is 685.776, which becomes rounded to 686 feet. So yes, we got the same value. Okay. So both 1 and 2 describe the change in the lake level. Which do you think is the absolute change? The absolute change is the number. So this is the absolute. The relative change, which is the percent, is going to be the 9.9. Okay, so let's talk about money. We all want to get a pay raise. So suppose your salary has increased from $30,000 up to $32,500. What is the change between the starting salary and the salary after the raise? Okay, well, when I do that, I always start with, I go with the ending or the compared value. This would be my compared value, and this is my reference value. So I would take my compared value minus my reference value, which becomes 32,500 minus 30,000, which means the change is $2,500. And that takes us to the formula for absolute change. It is the compared value minus the reference value. You can also think about it in terms of ending value minus original value. So what did you start with? That's your reference value. What did you end up with? So you're going to have to do that. Okay, so now suppose that a recession hits and everyone must take a pay cut. Your salary drops from $32,500 down to only $29,000. Okay. So again, the reference value is now the starting value. So this becomes my reference value, and this is my compared value. So the reference value is now $32,500, and the compared value is $29,000. So I'm still going to do compared value minus reference value, which means $29,000 minus $32,500, which gives me an absolute change of negative $3,500. So when the salary increased, the absolute change was positive. When it decreased, the absolute change was negative. Okay, and that just kind of makes sense. All right, you bought a car for $15,500, and after 6 years, the car is worth $8,700. Find the absolute change. Okay, so I'm going to do, of course, compared value minus the reference value. So the reference value is going to be what the original value of the car was. The compared value is going to be what it is now. So this becomes $8,700 minus $15,500, which gives us an absolute change of negative $6,800. Notice it went down, so we're going to have a negative amount. Okay, well, let's talk now about relative change. Suppose someone earns an annual salary of $100,000 and they receive a $15,000 raise. Is this a big raise? No. This would be annual. So this is not really. This would just mean that I went from $100,000 to $100,015. That's not a big raise. And again, that's because it is annual. But let's talk about an hourly. An hourly salary of $10 and they receive a $15 raise. This would also, since it's hourly, this is yes. I would go from $10 to $25 per hour. So that is a great raise. All right, so relative change is the percent. It is the absolute change divided by the reference value. We know absolute change is the compared value minus the reference value, and then it's divided by the reference value. And then you are going to convert to a percent. And we know how to do that. We just move the decimal. Okay, so in number 8, the reference value is 100,000. The compared value after the raise is $100,015. So the percent, do you expect it to be big? Not really. $15 compared to $100,000 is very small. Okay, so we have to now calculate the relative change. So I'm just going to use this formula here. I'm going to find the absolute change. So that's going to be 100,000. This will now be my this is my reference value. This is my compared value. Divided by my reference value, which becomes 15 divided by 100,000, which is 0.00015, or if I move this over 2 places, 0.015%. Okay, so I would encourage you to stop and do this on your own. You don't have to, but I think it might be a good idea. Okay, so our reference value on number 9 was $10. The compared value, if you got a $15 raise, is $25. So do you expect this to be big? I do. $25 compared to $10 is large. So we want to now calculate the relative change. It's compared value minus reference value divided by reference value. So I'm going to do 25 minus 10 divided by 10. That gives me 15 divided by 10, which is 1.50, or 150%. Okay, so let's fill in positive and negative in the blanks. Like with absolute change, relative change is positive if the reference value increases, and negative if the reference value decreases. All right, I'm going to switch videos to do the rest of these, and again, you might at any time stop and work the problem and then come back and look at it, and I'll be back.